The land down under has now banned all social media for those under the age of 16. That's everything. Facebook, X, Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, Reddit, all social media is now banned. What do we know? What do we not know, and where does this come from? Now, Australia has just dropped one of the wildest, craziest digital laws in modern history. From December the 10th, 2025, anyone under the age of 16 is officially banned from having social media or having any kind of social media account. Not restricted, not limited, they're banned. And that's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Messenger, Snapchat, YouTube, X or Twitter, Reddit, Twitch, Kick, no streaming. They're all included, okay? If you're under 16, your account gets blocked or deleted. No negotiation, straight away, which is crazy for anyone who is kind of treating their Instagram account as a business, which is even crazier if you're 16 and you're able to do that. I mean, the debate is there, right? Should they be allowed to still carry on that practice? Now, I can see both sides. However, I definitely agree with Australia here, and I see what they're doing. Right, and I'll explain why. But first, let's cover exactly what we know. Now, the important part is they're not punishing the kids. All right, the kids are not going to be penalized. If you're found with an account and you're underage, nothing's going to be done to you. They're punishing the platforms. This is how I know that they genuinely want to invoke some change. They also are going for a reset, right? They must have been watching Bounce's videos, but they're going for a full reset on social media with kids. The fines are crazy. Fines can go up to 49.5 million Australian dollars. If TikTok or Instagram can't keep under 16s out, it's a lot of money. It's about 26 million British pounds. Now, the government's pitch is that protecting kids' mental health is vital. Cutting down on cyberbullying, grooming, toxic content, and algorithm addiction, right? And this is my main reason of agreeing with this. Even me as a social media user, right? You can't deny, you find yourself you went on there to watch one thing or to check one post, and it's been 4 hours, and all your thumb is doing is this, and your face. That's all you're for 4 hours, and it kills brain cells, right? It kills time. Your ability to even want, or your motivation to want, after you've done that, you kind of feel like, right, you've used all your emotions, you've laughed, you've cried, you've shared, and you just want to eat and sleep, you know what I mean? So it does kind of eat at your brain. And on top of that, more importantly, grooming, cyberbullying, toxic content. There is definitely things on social media children should not be seeing. There's no point banning this and the other and saying you have to be over 18 for this, you have to be over this for that, and then we just give them social media. Right? It doesn't make sense. So I think there's a level of control, and it also brings in a level of the separation between adulthood and childhood, which I think is something that we've lost. We've lost that. There's now this kind of grey wire between what we consider a child, what we consider as an adult. How many followers do they have? Or if they've got loads of followers, it's an adult. Nah, bro. Nah. Kids are kids. Adults are adults. If you're under 18, you're a kid. Can't do stuff that adults do. And this separation is going to bring in, I think, a new wave of discipline and just better growing young adults that are going to grow up without the stupid influences of social media. Okay? Now, I think in theory it sounds pretty good, but there are places where this kind of will get messy. Every platform now needs to have a verification age, which means ID checks, facial scans, biometric age estimators, AI age guessing systems, the whole lot, right? And that opens up the door to scams, identity theft, the dodgy proof of age phishing traps. You go on there, it says prove your age, send me a scan on your ID, but it's not even the website. It's some AI generated scam which is going to take your data, steal from your bank, log into your email and take everything, right? Your email, your bank account, whatever you have available. So that's kind of the bad side that the critics are mentioning. More importantly, kids aren't stupid. They will find loopholes. Okay? And this is where the social media companies are coming out and saying, well, that's not fair that you penalize us, when they're going to go around and find ways around it. So what can we really do to control that? And I think that's where it's going to come down to how much are you doing to genuinely prevent them? And if you're doing everything that you can, then maybe in theory you shouldn't have any kids on your platform, but we're going to have to wait and see how that turns out. You can also have fake IDs, VPNs, backup accounts, apps that aren't even on the banned list, which they can still log on to because all they need is the login and password, right? And if the account by face value on the surface belongs to an adult, how are the social media companies going to know that it's a child behind that adult? What if I use my mom's or my dad's Instagram and they let me? Who gets penalized then? Right? So it's going to be a lot that comes out to this. And you can't look at young people You can't lock young people out of the internet, right? A lot of them use the internet to learn. And just because there's a few bad eggs and a few bad situations, it doesn't mean there's any good that has not come out of the internet. We can spread awareness, right? Young people can tell us about the experiences that they've had when recently they haven't had a place to be able to tell their stories. Now young people can take social media and gain the same amount of following as it would have taken them maybe a couple weeks to get in a village. They can go online, post a video about their experience, and get support, right? And get bad people in the spotlight, get darkness in the spotlight. So social media isn't always that bad. So there's definitely two sides to the coin. Somewhere else, there is real danger as well, right? The only danger is not always on the internet. There's unregulated apps, right? Underground servers, shady platforms with zero moderation. I'm pretty confident they might even just find a way to get a VPN and not be in Australia, and then boom, it's active in they're active in the US, in other countries, and this looks like the ban's only taking place in Australia. So will you penalize a company in another country because they got access, even though it's an Australian citizen on that account? Not really sure. Now, there are already some high court challenges against the law. Lawyers are arguing that it violates teenagers' rights to express themselves, to learn, and to participate in society. Teenagers have political opinions too, and this locks them out of being able to actually be involved and make decisions that are going to basically affect their whole lives. Right, so there's definitely two sides to the coin. YouTube also expressed a loophole. Kids can still watch videos when they're logged out. Right, even I didn't know this. Now they just can't comment, they can't subscribe, they can't create, or they can't interact, but they can still watch videos while they're logged out. YouTube is an open forum. You can go youtube.com and start watching videos without being logged in. You just won't be able to interact with the content. So the ban doesn't really take them away, but I mean, does YouTube count as social media? Can someone DM you on social media on YouTube the same way they can on Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat? Maybe, maybe not. Right, now, moving on, I think the bigger question is this truly protecting kids, or is it just another measure of controlling the tech giants? Right, I think there's a foot in both ends of both sides of the fence here. I think you genuinely are doing something to protect the kids, and the only way to really enforce this is to make the people who created the social media and the people who run the social media responsible for when it goes wrong. So I agree with that. Australia is the first democracy to force a blanket under 16 internet lockout. Are other countries going to follow suit? Do you guys think this will come to the UK? Let me know in the comments. I think if it works out there, then definitely it'll come here, and it should spread across the world, because if we should be doing everything to protect the kids. We should be doing everything to protect our children from grooming, from exposure against things that they shouldn't see at a certain age because they're just not mature, or maybe their brains haven't matured enough to really understand and take in that content, or take in what they're watching for genuinely what it is. On top of being the first sort of democracy to release a blanket under 16 internet lockout, is also arguing that this could change the entire global internet, and it could, right? What would happen if no one under 16 was on the internet? What kind of impact would that be? In my brain, in my mind, I can see more good things than bad. The protection, especially just protecting young kids from overexposure on the internet, right? I think it's safety against freedom. Kids deserve protection, but do they deserve censorship? My answer is yes. I think that's the reason why children have parents. That's why we have role models. That's why before we turn a certain age, our parents have to sign the school trips. Our parents have to give us permission to do things. Our parents have to go to court with us. We can't just go into court and have a legal... There has to be an adult present, and there's a reason for that, right? Kids deserve protection, and to a certain degree, censorship is protection, right? But let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think it's not? I'd love to know. And do we protect them from banning apps, or by educating them to use them safely? What's the better tactic? I think with every piece of education comes miseducation. So you can educate all you want, right? And you can tell people exactly how to do things, why to do things, and where to do things, and how. You will still get your bad eggs who find a way around the way in which that you think, or the way in which that you've taught, and they'll teach that to other people who are easily influenced. And that usually tends to happen with young people. And that's why I'm backing this. There's also the conversation around algorithm addiction. This is my favorite one. You sit on there, and next thing you know, you're on there for 66 hours. This is a real issue with kids online. There's also the mental health. Says digital literacy. Does removing social media fix mental health, or does it delay the problem until they're 16? I think mental health is something that really should be tackled with a professional. You should be going to see someone who's professionally been educated and spent years researching the solutions when it comes to mental health. I don't think social media has the answers. It could be a coping mechanism, but coping mechanisms don't help with things like mental health. If you cope with social media, you'll find that it peaks back up at an older age where it might be much harder to deal with. So I think being able to remove social media and giving children the ability to grow, learn, experience the world without being locked onto that phone, because technology is getting better, the apps are getting better, and the algorithms are getting smarter and better at keeping you on there. And it's all for money, right? So when you think about it, I think the children's protection really does come first in all of it. There's the conversation of parental responsibility. Why are parents not part of the conversation? Okay, why is the solution always a government ban instead of education? And I think it's because when you leave education to parents, as we've seen, not all parents are as committed to educating their kids as some others might be. I want to say, you have some parents that find it priority, and you have some parents that just have a different paradigm. So potentially education on social media might not be as important as other things that might not be going on in the family. It could also be seen as a slippery slope. If banning under 16s on social media becomes normal, what next? What else do we ban? Do we ban them from having opinions? Do we ban them from having jobs? Do we ban them from going to certain places because we know they're bad? Once the government can restrict a whole group, they can restrict anything. So by having this law in place, are we actually just giving the government too much power? Or have we gotten to the stage where we've not done enough? So now the government has to come in and help, okay? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I think this is one of the craziest stories to come out. I wonder how it's going to affect Australia. I think it's a great thing. And I think the more education that comes from parents in terms of educating their kids to understand why this is happening, and also showing what happens when these kind of safeguards aren't in place, what happens to teens, what happens with victims of grooming and SA allegations and things like that. I think a lot of people will begin to understand why this has happened. But let me know your thoughts. I've been Dave Reacts. Peace.